What if I told you that the most successful independent electronic music labels in 2026, well, they actually spend more time generating SHA-256 cryptography hashes than they do, like, mixing tracks in the studio?
I mean, it definitely shatters the illusion a bit, right? Most people picture, packed clubs and neon lights when they think of starting a label, not complex metadata spreadsheets.
Exactly. And welcome to today's Deep Dive, everyone. I'm your host, and our mission today is to look past all that industry glamour and uncover the unvarnished mechanical reality of building a profitable label from absolute zero.
Right, and I'm thrilled to be here to help unpack this, because the operational side of music is, frankly, where the real magic happens.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who are naturally curious about how modern businesses actually function under the hood, we have a really fascinating stack of sources today. We are looking at a comprehensive 6-part case study detailing the rise of an indie electronic label based in Miami, Florida. They're called 786Muzik Publishing LLC.
It's a fantastic case study.
It really is. The documentation covers their exact journey, their operational missteps, and their incredibly disciplined strategy.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this, because if you look at 786Muzik, their public motto is literally, "The vibe is the only rule."
Yeah, which sounds very carefree.
Right. But the sources reveal that protecting that vibe requires a shockingly rigid corporate framework.
And that tension right there between the art and the operations, that's the core of this entire case study. It's universally applicable, too.
How so?
Well, whether you as the listener are building a design studio, a tech startup, or just managing your own freelance career, the mechanics of turning a creative spark into a lasting, protective business structure, they remain identical. You can't just release the art and, hope for the best.
Yeah, and I see that immediately in their timeline. The sources show that to build a lasting label, you can't even start with the music, which sounds completely counterintuitive to me.
It does, yeah.
Like, I assumed step one was signing an artist or finishing a track. But before 786Muzik released a single piece of audio, they spent months entirely focused on legal paperwork.
The boring stuff.
Literally the boring stuff. We're talking forming a single-member LLC, registering for an EIN with the federal government, and processing W-9s. Why is that the non-negotiable first step? I mean, if it's just one person making music in Miami, why go through all that corporate red tape?
Because without that specific paperwork, you are not a vendor. You are just a hobbyist uploading files to a server.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, let's look at the W-9, for example. If you want a digital distributor to actually pay you the royalties your music generates, they need a W-9 on file to report that income to the IRS.
Right.
If you don't have an established business entity and tax ID ready to go, distributors are legally required to enact backup withholding.
Wait, what does that mean in practice?
It means they will hold back a massive chunk of your revenue for taxes before you even see a dime, which, completely crushes a new label's cash flow right out of the gate.
Ah, that makes sense. It's about being ready to actually receive the money you earn.
Exactly.
And speaking of receiving money, the case study outlines this absolute alphabet soup of publishing registrations that 786Muzik had to complete. It lists BMI publisher and writer accounts, Sound Exchange, the MLC, and Song Trust.
Oh yeah, the alphabet soup is real.
This is where I start to get a bit lost, honestly. If I'm driving a newly finished song down the digital highway, why do I need to stop at 4 different places to register it?
Think of those organizations as an interconnected system of toll booths. But each booth only collects a very specific type of currency from a very specific lane of traffic.
Okay, I like that analogy. Break that down for me.
Sure. So BMI is a performance rights organization. They collect the toll when your song is played in public, like on terrestrial radio, in a nightclub, or as background music in a restaurant.
Got it.
But BMI does not collect digital performance royalties. For that lane of traffic, you need Sound Exchange. Sound Exchange collects the toll when your song is played on non-interactive digital platforms, like Pandora or SiriusXM.
So that's 2 toll booths, just for different types of radio or public play. What about Spotify or Apple Music?
Right, so that brings us to the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective. When someone clicks play on Spotify, they're essentially generating a digital copy of the song. The MLC collects a mechanical toll for that reproduction.
Okay, so that's 3. What was the last one? Song Trust.
Yeah, and finally, Song Trust acts as an administrative overlay. Because the internet is global, right?
Right.
A stream in Germany generates a royalty in Germany. Song Trust interfaces with the international collection societies, so you aren't trying to register with a toll booth in Munich from your laptop in Miami.
Wow. So if you miss even one of those registrations, you are essentially leaving an entire lane of traffic unmonitored. People are driving by, and you aren't collecting the toll.
What's fascinating here is that missed metadata and fragmented registrations, they are the #1 reason independent artists lose money. Millions of dollars literally sit in black boxes at places like the MLC simply because the automated systems can't figure out who to pay. 786Muzik recognized that the boring stuff is literally the mechanism that decides whether you run a viable business or a very expensive hobby.
And the sources show they treat this boring stuff like an absolute science. From day one, they organize their catalog, which sits at about 50 to 60 tracks right now, using a custom Notion database.
It wasn't just a folder full of MP3s on a desktop.
No, not at all. They use sequential ISRC codes and strict catalog numbering. And they go way deeper than just tracking codes on a spreadsheet. They use a process called BWF metadata embedding.
Right, broadcast wave format.
Yeah. They run every track through a tool called BWF Meta Edit to embed data directly into the file at the BEX version 2 standard. Which, I mean, why go through the trouble of baking the data into the file itself? Doesn't the streaming platform just read the title you type in when you upload it?
Well, typing in the title is superficial. It's like putting a sticky note on a physical CD case.
Oh, I see.
If someone rips that CD, the sticky note is gone. The BEX version 2 standard, which is the broadcast audio extension, was developed so that critical information like the title, the ISRC code, the composer, and the exact time reference is fundamentally written into the header code of the WAV file itself.
That is so smart.
It really is, because if a DJ downloads that track or a music supervisor compresses it to send in an email, that identifying data travels inside the file. It cannot be accidentally stripped away.
And they pair that embedded file with a release certification workflow to create what they call a proof package.
The proof package, yes.
For every single release, they use cryptography to generate a SHA-256 hash of the final audio file. Then they compile the hash, the metadata, and the registration info into a single PDF document.
It's incredibly thorough.
Oh, generating a SHA-256 hash and this proof package PDF is basically like creating a digital birth certificate and a DNA test for a song. It proves exactly who owns it and when it was born, so the royalties actually find their way home.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. A SHA-256 hash takes a digital file and generates a fixed-length string of characters that acts as a unique cryptographic fingerprint.
So it's completely unique to that exact file.
Exactly. If even 1 pixel of the cover art or 1 decibel of the audio is altered, the hash changes completely. Having that DNA test mathematically proves that 786Muzik's version of the file existed at a specific time-stamped moment.
Wow.
So if someone tries to steal the track or claim a false copyright strike later, 786Muzik just produces the hash. End of discussion.
Okay, so we've spent all this time building a legally bulletproof, perfectly tracked digital asset. But an incredibly secure file sitting on a Miami hard drive doesn't build a brand. It needs a vehicle to reach the world.
It needs distribution.
Right, and the sources outline a major operational shift early in their timeline, migrating their distribution from DistroKid over to Symphonic. I see DistroKid praised a lot in beginner circles for being fast and cheap. Why would 786Muzik abandon it once they started gaining momentum?
Well, DistroKid is fantastic for accessibility. If you are an artist who just wants your song on Spotify by Friday for $20 a year, it is the perfect tool.
Sure.
But 786Muzik was building a 60-track catalog with complex, long-term business needs. DistroKid's highly automated, one-size-fits-all approach actually becomes a constraint at scale. The case study notes that 786Muzik evaluated Symphonic across 8 specific distribution criteria before moving.
8 criteria. What kind of criteria actually matter at that scale? I assume it's more than just who takes the lowest percentage.
Oh, much more. For a growing label, you need advanced accounting tools. Symphonic offered automated royalty splits.
What does that look like?
It means if a track had a featured vocalist, Symphonic system would automatically route 15% of the revenue to that vocalist's bank account, saving the label from doing monthly manual accounting.
Oh, that saves so much time.
It's a huge time saver. They also evaluated label-level analytics, direct customer support for taking down copyright infringers, and hands-on pitching services to get tracks onto editorial playlists. Symphonic aligned with the mechanics of running a multifaceted business rather than just acting as a fast upload pipe.
I can see how that structural discipline pays off.
Yeah.
But getting the music onto Spotify or Apple Music is still a passive game. You're waiting for someone to find you. This brings me to a part of the case study that really surprised me, and that's their YouTube strategy.
Ah, yes. It is a critical shift in how independent labels have to operate in 2026.
Here's where it gets really interesting, right? Because most labels just post a static square of their album art with the audio playing underneath. You're saying 786Muzik is essentially running a full-blown media network with documentaries and mix series just to feed an algorithm.
They absolutely are, because passive uploading is dead. The YouTube algorithm doesn't care about a 3-minute audio track with a static image. It cares about watch time and session length.
Okay, so you have to keep people on the platform.
Exactly. If you want the algorithm to push your brand, you have to be a broadcaster.
But how does a small indie label actually execute that without burning out? It sounds exhausting.
By using a multi-series content calendar, the case study details how they interlock different formats. They produce weekly or bi-weekly electronic mix series. Think of like a 2-hour continuous DJ mix. That acts as an incredibly powerful SEO engine.
Okay, let me stop you there. How is a DJ mix an SEO engine? I just think of it as background music.
But that background nature is exactly why it works. People search for functional music on YouTube. They search study house mix, gym electronic music, or driving techno.
Ah, they're searching for an activity.
Right. And 786Muzik optimizes their titles, video descriptions, and tags to capture those specific search terms. When a listener clicks on a 2-hour mix to study, they leave the video running. That generates massive watch time metrics.
And the algorithm loves that.
The algorithm sees that high engagement and starts recommending 786Muzik's other videos, like their podcast content or their short documentary storytelling pieces.
So the mix series casts a wide net to pull people in through search, and then the documentaries build a parasocial relationship with the label's actual artists.
Precisely. And it is heavily reliant on visual consistency. Their thumbnail strategy uses specific color grading and layout constraints so that the moment a video pops up in a user's feed, it is instantly recognizable as 786Muzik.
That's brilliant.
All of this deliberate broadcasting is designed to hit the YouTube Partner Program monetization thresholds. They are stacking ad revenue, YouTube music streaming payouts, and long-term brand loyalty, all from one single platform.
That is a phenomenal ecosystem. But even with a thriving YouTube channel and perfectly distributed streaming, those revenue models are largely volume games, right? You are collecting fractions of a penny thousands of times over.
True.
The sources make a sharp pivot when discussing how to generate massive, sudden capital, the kind of money that can fund a label's operations for an entire year. And that means diving into sync licensing.
Placing music in film, television, and advertising. It is the most lucrative revenue stream available to an independent label, but it is also the most legally misunderstood.
Yeah, I want to dig into that misunderstanding because the case study breaks sync licensing down into two distinct halves, the sync license and the master license. Walk me through the difference there.
Sure. So whenever a piece of music is used in a visual medium, say a car commercial, the advertising agency has to pay for two separate copyrights.
Okay.
The sync license covers the underlying composition. That is the melody, the chords, the lyrics. It's paid to the publisher and the songwriters. The master license covers the specific sound recording of that composition. It's paid to the label or whoever owns the actual audio file.
Wait, if I'm a music supervisor for a TV show trying to put together a soundtrack on a tight Friday afternoon deadline, why do I care if the indie label owns both the sync and the master rights? Like if I like the song for the scene, won't I just use it and let the accountants figure it out later?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, a music supervisor's biggest enemy is legal risk, and their second biggest enemy is time.
Right.
They cannot just use a song and figure it out later. If a show airs with uncleared music, the network gets sued.
That makes sense.
If a supervisor wants a track, but the composition has 4 different writers who use 3 different publishers scattered across the globe, the supervisor has to track down every single one of them and get a signature. If even one writer says no or asks for too much money, the song is dead. They have to start over.
Ah, I see. The friction kills the deal.
Completely. But independent labels that own and control both the master and the publishing rights, like 786, have a massive market advantage. They offer what the industry calls a one-stop shop.
One email, basically.
Exactly. When that music supervisor finds a 786Muzik track they love, they send one email to the label. The label replies with one contract that clears both the sync and the master instantly. Zero friction.
Yeah.
Zero legal risk.
It's that digital DNA test paying off again. Because they did the boring work on day one and baked all that metadata perfectly into the Bex version 2 standard, they can prove instant ownership and close the deal while other labels are scrambling to find old contracts.
It accelerates everything. And the case study notes they push this frictionless catalog to high-volume sync platforms like MusicBed, Artlist, and Epidemic Sound.
And their corporate positioning for those platforms is so smart. They don't just upload the files and tag them electronic music. They explicitly market the 786Muzik catalog as the soundtrack to urban movement.
Think about how brilliant that phrasing is from a B2B perspective.
Right.
It doesn't describe the instruments, it describes the utility of the music. When an ad executive is looking for a track for a sneaker campaign or a city montage, they aren't searching for a 120 BPM synthesizer.
No, they're searching for a vibe.
Exactly. Soundtrack to Urban Movement tells the buyer exactly how to use the product.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We have this bulletproof foundation of LLCs and metadata. We have a strategic distribution vehicle in Symphonic. We have a YouTube media network driving algorithmic growth and a frictionless sync licensing pipeline pulling in corporate capital.
It's a solid machine.
These are incredible tactical maneuvers, but the final section of the sources strings all of this together over a 10-year timeline. They aren't just releasing music, they're building a family legacy.
The shift in mindset here is profound. Most artists or independent labels are trapped in the next release cycle. They're only thinking about the single dropping next Friday.
Yeah, living week to week.
But 786Muzik engineered a long-term roadmap that tracks 10 different revenue streams compounding over a decade.
What does a 10-stream roadmap actually look like in practice?
Well, it means they aren't relying on any single point of failure. They are projecting income from streaming, YouTube ad revenue, sync placement fees, BMI public performance royalties, MLC mechanical royalties, direct-to-fan merchandise, physical vinyl sales, and secondary licensing. Yeah, when you stack 10 distinct streams, a dip in Spotify algorithms doesn't sink the company.
And they are actively planning for geographic expansion without losing their identity, too. They use this clever DBA doing business as concept, utilizing city area codes. The sources mentioned 212Muzik for New York and 206Muzik for Seattle. How does that help them scale?
Because electronic music relies heavily on local, underground authenticity. If a Miami label suddenly tries to sign a bunch of Seattle artists, it can feel, corporate or disconnected.
Sure, it loses that grassroots feel.
Right. By registering localized DBAs, they create a modular brand architecture. 206Muzik can operate with a hyper-local Seattle aesthetic, building trust in that specific scene, while all the complicated back-end operations, the accounting, the symphonic distribution, the sync clearance, are centralized under the main 786Muzik LLC infrastructure.
That is genius. They get the scale of a national corporation while maintaining the credibility of a basement indie label. So, what does this all mean? Summarizing everything we pulled from this case study, 786Muzik isn't just making tracks to get likes on social media. They are minting highly organized digital real estate.
Absolutely.
And because music royalties stack, the value of that perfectly registered catalog compounds year over year. They are building an asset meant to outlast the founders.
They are proving that absolute creative control, where the vibe is the only rule, is only possible if you execute with a ruthless level of operational excellence. Independent labels built with this kind of structural integrity are quietly becoming the most powerful creative businesses in the modern music ecosystem.
It is a phenomenal blueprint. Let's recap the journey for everyone listening. If you want to build a bulletproof independent label in 2026, you start with the foundation. You file the LLCs, secure the EIN, and manage the W-9s.
Get the boring stuff done.
Right. You register at every single toll booth, BMI, Sound Exchange, the MLC, Song Trust. You embed your metadata like a digital DNA test using SHA 256 hashes and Bex version 2 standards.
Crucial step.
Then you evaluate distributors based on deep business criteria, treating platforms like Symphonic as partners, not just pipes. You recognize that passive uploading is dead, turning YouTube into an SEO-driven media network to capture watch time.
And don't forget the sync strategy.
Yes, you conquer the lucrative sync licensing market by owning both your master and publishing rights, becoming a zero-friction, one-stop shop for corporate buyers. And finally, you wrap all those daily operations into a decade-long vision, treating your art as inheritable digital property.
It is the evolution from being a creator to being a catalog owner.
And that reality leaves us with something pretty heavy to think about. We started this deep dive talking about stepping away from the glamorous neon lights and facing the spreadsheets. We learned that the true value of a creative business lies in the boring, meticulous documentation.
It really does.
So, to you listening out there, if properly registered metadata, encrypted hashes, and clear ownership are the new inheritable real estate of 2026, what personal creative projects, writings, or digital assets do you have sitting on a hard drive right now that you are failing to properly document, protect, and build into a legacy for your own future?
An incredibly important question to ask yourself today.
Until next time, keep digging deeper.